My name is Kieran, I'm 29, and for years I clung to the belief that my family's love for me hadn't changed. I'm not some broken soul with a dark past. No criminal history, no scandal, no explosive family feud. Just a guy who wandered off the path my family expected me to follow. I chose a simpler life while my parents and younger brother stayed caught up in their polished, picture-perfect world. Maybe that was the issue. Maybe because I no longer fit their script, I became invisible to them. But nothing could have prepared me for what happened on my birthday. I'd like to say I saw it coming, but I didn't. I held on to a foolish hope they'd show up or at least send a meaningful message. Instead, I got nothing but silence. Let me backtrack. My birthday landed on a Saturday this year, July 6th. I planned it a month ahead. Not a massive celebration, just dinner at a cozy restaurant in town and drinks at my place afterward. I invited about a dozen people, some coworkers, two college buddies who still live nearby, and naturally my family. I texted my parents and my brother, Ryan, weeks in advance and even followed up the Sunday before. My mom's response was brief. "We'll try, sweetie. Things are a bit crazy right now." I didn't think much of it. Busy was their default. Ryan didn't reply at all. I should have seen the signs. The day came. I scrubbed my apartment spotless, picked up cupcakes from a bakery my mom used to rave about, and set out candles for the table, something my dad always ribbed me for, saying I was too nostalgic for my own good. I kept checking the time, expecting a knock or a call asking for my building's entry code. But by 6:30 p.m., my phone stayed quiet. My friends started arriving around 7. Sophia and Jordan brought a bottle of wine. Mark showed up with a ridiculous inflatable birthday crown he insisted I wear. We laughed, cranked up the music, swapped silly stories. But every few minutes my eyes darted to the door. By 8 I caved and called my mom. She answered after a few rings, her voice bright with chatter and music in the background. "Hey, sweetheart," she said, as if everything was fine. "Hey, are you guys still coming? Dinner started an hour ago." There was a pause, then a sigh. "Kieran, we're tied up right now, celebrating something important. Ryan got a big promotion. It's a major milestone for him, and we couldn't miss it." I blinked, staring at the wall, trying to process her words. "You couldn't miss his thing, so you skipped my birthday." "Don't make a scene," she said, her tone sharpening. "You're almost 30. Do we need to make a fuss every year?" My throat tightened. "I didn't ask for a fuss. I asked you to show up." "Well," she said, defensive now, "we can't be everywhere. You should be proud of your brother. He's earned this and we're thrilled for him. Try not to make this about you." I don't recall what I mumbled next. I hung up soon after, numb. I walked back to my friends, plastered on a grin, and grabbed a beer. When the last guest left around midnight, I sat alone in my living room, the inflatable crown sagging on the table beside a tray of half-eaten appetizers. The next morning, I scrolled through the photos we'd taken. One caught my eye, me on the couch, surrounded by the 5 friends who actually showed up. It wasn't posed or fancy, but it was genuine. Their smiles were real. So I posted it online, no petty caption, just thankful for the family that chose to be here. I didn't expect a reaction. I muted the family group chat right after. 3 hours later, a loud knock startled me. Through the peephole, I saw my parents fuming. My dad's face was flushed. My mom looked ready to deliver a lecture. Ryan stood by the elevator, arms crossed, watching like it was a drama he wasn't part of. My instinct was to open the door and hear them out, but my phone buzzed with a text from my mom. "Open the door, Kieran. This is immature." I hesitated. My dad knocked again, harder. My mom shouted something muffled, then gestured at Ryan, who just shrugged. Eventually, they left. But that was only the start. Later that day, my dad sent a long, dramatic email about family loyalty and not airing personal issues online. He called my post a betrayal after all they'd done for me, even bringing up the one time they helped with rent 2 years ago during the pandemic. Money I paid back in 4 months. Now it was being dangled like a debt I'd never settle. The group chat exploded. Ryan called me envious and desperate for attention. My aunt chimed in, "Couldn't you let your brother have his moment?" My cousin added a snide remark about some people never growing up. Not one of them paused to ask why I was celebrating with friends instead of family. The worst part? I started doubting myself. That evening, alone in my apartment, I replayed the conversation endlessly. Was I being selfish? Childish? Should I have let it slide? But then I remembered my mom's words, something that actually matters. Like my birthday, like I didn't matter at all. That's when something shifted inside me. I started digging through old emails, bank statements, shared expenses. I found records of loans I'd given Ryan when he flunked out of college and couldn't pay rent. The birthday and Christmas gifts I'd bought my parents, often stretching my budget. The messages they ignored, the photos I wasn't in, the vacations they never invited me on, always with some excuse. Then I stumbled on something I hadn't thought about in years, the foundation paperwork. It was still active, still in my name, and they had no clue. That's when a plan started to take shape. I stayed up all night, my laptop's glow casting shadows across the room as I sifted through memories and documents. The foundation was my grandfather's creation, a small nonprofit for scholarships and community projects. He'd entrusted it to me back when I was the one who showed up for family dinners, ran errands, listened without judgment. Back when I felt valued. After he passed, no one cared much about it. My parents mentioned closing it a few times, but I kept it alive with small grants and quiet contributions. I didn't have much, but I believed in its purpose. I never told anyone I was the one funding it, hoping they'd notice my effort. They didn't. Instead, they started slapping their names on the foundation's events, galas, fundraisers, school sponsorships. I saw my mom's social media posts, posing with oversized checks I'd signed. At the time, I let it go, thinking if it helps people, who cares who gets the spotlight? But after that birthday call, something in me snapped, not loudly, but like a lock clicking shut. I reviewed the documents carefully. As the sole trustee, I had total control. Every public use of the foundation's name needed my approval, which they hadn't been getting. Then I noticed a pending transaction, a $30,000 request labeled as a sponsorship for Ryan's new startup. I stared at the screen, stunned. They hadn't even asked me. They were treating the foundation like their personal ATM. My grandfather would have been livid. This wasn't about family. It was entitlement and deceit wrapped in fancy suits and gala toasts. I rejected the request, froze the account, halted all spending, and flagged recent transactions for review. I contacted Leonard, my grandfather's old accountant, who still remembered me as the only honest one in the family. I explained everything. He agreed to do a discreet audit. Within a day, he found thousands in misspent funds, vacations, home repairs, even a catered party for Ryan's engagement, disguised as a youth outreach event. Reading each line item, my hands trembled, not from anger, but from clarity. I wasn't just invisible on my birthday. I was a tool, valued only for what I could provide, so I stopped providing. I drafted a letter to the board, all people I'd appointed, detailing the misuse and suspending all family-related events pending investigation. I added an external oversight committee, excluding any relatives. For the first time in years, I put my name back on the foundation's website, not for pride, but to remind myself I kept this alive. The next morning, my buzzer rang. It was my mom, looking more irritated than angry, dressed like she'd come from a social event where appearances mattered. "Kieran, we need to talk," she said the moment I opened the door. Behind her stood my dad, Stern, and Ryan, smirking like he was watching a show. I let them in, not because I wanted to, but because I wanted them to see my calm. My apartment was tidy, quiet, no drama waiting to erupt. "You made a reckless choice," my dad said as the door closed. My mom added, "That post online, implying we don't care, that was hurtful." Ryan stayed silent, leaning against the wall with that smug grin like he knew he'd win. I sat on the couch arm, looking at them. "You skipped my birthday," I said. "That's not fair," my mom shot back. "We told you we were at Ryan's promotion dinner." "Right," I nodded. "Something that mattered." They froze. My dad shifted uncomfortably. Ryan shrugged. "It wasn't personal," my mom pressed. "We just thought." "You thought wrong," I cut in, my voice steady. "You've been using the foundation for your own expenses without my approval." "That's personal," my dad stiffened. "Now wait a minute, we've always—" "No," I said, standing. I've funded it, I've honored Grandpa's vision, you just took credit." Ryan rolled his eyes. "So what? Now you're pulling some power trip over a few bucks." I faced him, feeling taller than I had in years. "I already did. The foundation's locked, your sponsorships are canceled, funds are frozen, and an audit's underway." His smirk faded. "You're joking." My mom stepped forward, using her old scolding tone. "Kieran, this isn't how families resolve things. You don't just cut everyone off." I looked at her for a long moment. "That's exactly what you did to me." The room went quiet, heavy with years of unspoken truths. My dad started to speak, but my phone buzzed. It was Leonard with another message. "You should see this. Check the attachment. It's bigger than we thought." I read it, my stomach twisting, not with fear, but with something sharper. I looked up at them. "You might want to sit down for this." They didn't sit. My dad's jaw tightened. "We're not playing games, Kieran," he said. I held up my phone. "Then explain a $15,000 payment labeled as a consulting fee to a company in Ryan's name, one that supposedly handles event logistics for the foundation." Ryan's eyes darted to my phone, his cool cracking. "What are you talking about? That was approved by the board, right?" "No," I said. "There's no record of a vote, and that company, it's a front. No employees, no license, just your name on a P.O. box and a bank account." My mom jumped in, as always, to defend him. "That's absurd. Ryan doesn't need to scam the foundation. He contributes." "When?" I asked. "He's never attended a board meeting, never filed a report, never showed up to a charity event. But he deserved $15,000 from a scholarship fund while students waited for grants," Ryan scoffed. "It's not a scam. I covered costs for last spring's gala. That was my reimbursement." I stared at him. "Funny because I paid the venue and vendors directly. Leonard checked." My parents bristled. My dad stepped closer. "Kieran, you need to stop this vendetta before you ruin this family." I met his gaze, the man who once taught me to ride a bike, who said family sticks together. Now he sounded like a stranger. "I'm not ruining anything," I said. "I'm just done hiding your cracks so you can pretend we're perfect." My mom's eyes glistened, her purse clutched tight. "We sacrificed for you, Kieran. When you lost your job, we helped without hesitation. This is how you repay us." "Helped?" I asked softly. "You mean the $800 I paid back with interest? The one you've held over me ever since?" My dad snapped. "Don't twist this. You know what Ryan's been through. We did what we had to." "By stealing from a nonprofit?" Silence. Ryan muttered, "I didn't steal. I just shifted some funds." I laughed cold. "That's called embezzlement." The word hit hard. Ryan flinched, my mom paled, my dad looked ready to break something. I stepped back. "You're lucky I'm not pressing charges yet, but you're done. Your names are off the gala committee, the donor board, every flyer you've used to boost your image while I did the work." "You can't do that," my mom said, stunned. "I can," I replied. And I did. I turned my laptop toward them, showing the foundation's website. A new statement from me, the director, announced the removal of family members from all roles due to ethical breaches, with a focus on returning to my grandfather's vision of service over self-interest. There were photos of real volunteers, real projects, none featuring my family. Ryan's mouth opened, then closed. My mom said quietly, "We were going to announce Ryan's engagement at the next gala." I raised an eyebrow. "With the ring he bought using a scholarship grant reimbursement." Silence. I looked at them and said what I'd held back for years. "I'm done being your tool. I'm done staying quiet to keep the peace. If you want to fix this, it won't be with my money or my name." I opened the door. They didn't move at first. I waited. My mom left first, her hand brushing the doorframe. My dad followed, muttering. Ryan lingered, then leaned in and whispered, "You'll regret this." I looked him in the eye. "No, Ryan, you will." The door shut with a heavy thud, then my phone buzzed again. "Leonard, check the attachment. It's worse than we thought." I opened it and my jaw dropped. The mess was deeper than I'd imagined. The attachment was a PDF detailing 3 years of transactions, bank transfers, vendor payments, travel reimbursements, all approved through the foundation, but not by me. Ryan had forged signatures. The final page showed a $22,000 charge for a 10-day luxury trip to the Amalfi Coast last summer, billed as a strategic donor retreat. My parents had posted about their well-earned vacation while I was handling scholarship applications. The next morning, I met Leonard in his cozy office, filled with books and the faint scent of coffee. He handed me the full audit report, meticulously organized. "I knew your grandfather well," he said. "He always said you were the one who paid attention. He'd be proud." I nodded. "I don't want to ruin them, I just want it to stop." "Then make it public," he said. "Quietly, legally, but public. Or they'll keep doing it." So I did. I called an emergency board meeting and presented the audit. Most were stunned. A few older donors tried to minimize it, but the evidence, fake companies, forged signatures, conflicting tax records, was undeniable. We issued a press release 2 days later. An internal audit of the Dalton Family Foundation has uncovered financial misconduct by former affiliates who have been permanently removed. We are cooperating with authorities to ensure compliance and restitution. I hired a lawyer to send demand letters to my parents and Ryan, listing the misappropriated funds and giving them 30 days to repay or face legal action. I didn't expect compliance, but my mom's obsession with her reputation proved stronger. 3 days after the letters, she called. "Kieran," she said, voice shaky, "you don't know what this is doing to us." I stayed silent. People are talking, she went on. The country club canceled your dad's guest pass. Your aunt's church saw the statement. Good, I said. Maybe they'll see me as more than a wallet now. This is your family, she snapped. We gave you everything. No, Mom, I said. You raised Ryan, you tolerated me, you loved me as long as I didn't ask for anything, but when you needed money, I was your son again. She went quiet, then softly, we'll pay it back. All of it, 30 days, I said, or I file for fraud. I hung up, and for the first time, I felt no guilt. Ryan didn't call. He sent one text, you think this fixes anything? I didn't respond. Instead, I got to work. We rebuilt the foundation. New board members, all vetted, 3 new scholarship programs in my grandfather's name. I met the students we helped, heard their stories. One, a quiet kid named Mateo, teared up saying he'd be the first in his family to attend college. That moment meant more than any praise my family ever offered. My family went quiet at first, then sent half-hearted apologies. My aunt emailed, claiming she didn't know and always thought I was such a kind soul. My dad mailed a brief, handwritten note expressing regret, not for their actions, but for how things turned out. My mom showed up 2 weeks after the repayment deadline, holding an envelope. I almost didn't open the door, but curiosity won. I brought the check, she said. It was for the full amount, $84,650. I nodded. Thank you. I just want things to go back to normal, she said, voice strained. I looked at her. We can't, because now I know who you are when you think no one's looking. Tears filled her eyes, real or not, I couldn't tell. I miss my son, she whispered. I smiled faintly. He was always here, you just didn't see him. I closed the door. A week later, Ryan sent a letter with no return address. One line, I hope you realize how much you've hurt us. I tore it up without a second glance. Here's the truth. I didn't break my family. I exposed what was already fractured and chose not to carry their silence anymore. In the months that followed, I stopped checking their social media, stopped waiting for calls or invitations. I didn't need them. I had something better, friends who showed up, students whose lives changed because someone believed in them, a community that saw me as the author of my own story, not a prop in someone else's. My next birthday was simple. No big party, just Sophia, Jordan, Mark, and a few others in my living room, laughing over cake and wine. As I looked around, I realized I hadn't lost a family. I'd created one.